These are the best famous experiments that reveal human behavior. The first one on the list is Pavlov's dogs. What is good, smart people? Professor Einstein here. In the early 1900s, a Russian scientist named Ivan Pavlov was studying digestion in dogs. He noticed something strange. His dogs started salivating before their food even arrived. Just seeing the lab assistant who brought the food was enough to make them drool. Pavlov decided to test this. He rang a bell every time he fed the dogs. At first, the bell meant nothing to them. But after enough repetitions, something fascinating happened. The dogs began salivating at the sound of the bell alone, even when no food was present. This is called classical conditioning. Your brain links a neutral signal to a response over time. And here is the wild part. This same thing happens to you every single day. The smell of coffee, the sound of your alarm, the sight of your phone lighting up. These all trigger automatic reactions in your brain that were trained into you without you even noticing. Think about a song that instantly brings you back to a specific memory or feeling. That is Pavlov working on you. You did not choose that reaction. Your brain built it through repetition. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how deeply this and the other experiments shape the way every single one of us behaves. The second one on the list is the Milgram shock experiment. In 1961, psychologist Stanley Milgram ran one of the most disturbing studies in the history of science. Participants were told they were helping with a learning experiment. Their job was to give electric shocks to another person every time that person gave a wrong answer. The shocks were not real, and the person receiving them was an actor. But the participants did not know that. As the fake shocks got stronger, the actor screamed, begged to be let out, and eventually went completely silent. Despite this, when an authority figure in a lab coat simply said, "Please continue," around 65% of participants kept going all the way to the maximum shock level. Milgram's conclusion was chilling. Ordinary, decent people are capable of causing serious harm to others when an authority figure tells them to. It is not that these people were cruel. They were just following orders from someone who appeared to be in charge. This is known as obedience to authority. Here is a question worth thinking about. Have you ever done something at work or school that felt wrong, but you did it anyway because someone above you said to? That is the same psychological pull Milgram captured in his lab. Most people assume they would refuse. Most people are wrong. The third one on the list is the Stanford prison experiment. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo recruited 24 college students and randomly assigned them to be either guards or prisoners in a fake prison set up in a university basement. The plan was to run the study for 2 weeks. It was stopped after just 6 days. Within days, the students playing guards became genuinely cruel. They humiliated prisoners, deprived them of sleep, and stripped them of basic dignity. The students playing prisoners broke down emotionally, with some showing signs of serious psychological distress. Nobody was acting anymore. The roles had consumed them completely. The experiment revealed how powerfully our environment and the roles we are placed in can override our personal values. Zimbardo called this the Lucifer effect. The idea that good people, under the right circumstances, can turn to darkness not because of who they are, but because of where they are placed and what they are told they represent. This has real consequences outside the lab. Think about how people behave differently, depending on whether they are in a position of power or a position of vulnerability. The uniform, the title, the role, these things shape behavior more than we want to admit. The fourth one on the list is the Little Albert experiment. In 1920, psychologist John Watson wanted to prove that fear could be conditioned into a human being. He used a 9-month-old baby named Albert. Watson showed Albert a white rat, which the baby initially had no fear of. Then, every time the rat appeared, Watson made a loud, startling noise directly behind Albert's head. After just a few pairings, Albert became terrified of the white rat, even when the noise was absent. Worse, the fear spread. Albert began crying at the sight of a white rabbit, a dog, a fur coat, and even a Santa Claus mask. He had learned to fear anything white and fluffy. This experiment is deeply controversial today for obvious ethical reasons. Using a child without proper consent and deliberately inducing fear would never be allowed in modern science. But what it revealed was groundbreaking. Human fears, especially early ones, are often not logical. They are learned through association. Something neutral becomes terrifying through repeated pairing with pain or shock. Here is why this matters for you. Some of the fears or anxieties you carry right now may have been conditioned into you in childhood without you even realizing it. A fear of failure, a fear of speaking up, a fear of certain social situations. Many of these were learned, which also means they can, with the right approach, be unlearned. The fifth one on the list is the Asch conformity experiment. In the 1950s, Solomon Asch ran a series of simple visual tests. He showed participants a line and asked them to match it to one of 3 other lines of different lengths. The correct answer was always obvious. But here is the catch. The other people in the room were actors, and they were all instructed to give the wrong answer confidently. Quick quiz. If everyone around you said the clearly wrong line was the right one, what would you do? If you said you would stick to the truth, Asch's results suggest you might be overestimating yourself. Around 75% of real participants conformed to the wrong answer at least once. About a third of all responses across the study were conformist, even when the answer was obvious. The need to fit in, to not stand out, to avoid social rejection, these drives are so powerful that they can override what our own eyes are telling us. Asch showed that group pressure does not just change what we say. It can change what we believe we are seeing. This is one of the most important findings in all of social psychology. Whether it is fashion trends, political opinions, or financial decisions, people tend to move with the crowd far more than they think. Understanding this is the first step to actually thinking for yourself. The sixth one on the list is Harlow's monkey experiment. In the 1950s, Harry Harlow separated baby rhesus monkeys from their mothers and gave them 2 artificial substitutes. One was made of wire but provided milk. The other was covered in soft terry cloth but offered no food at all. According to the logic of the time, babies attach to whoever feeds them. The wire mother should have won. She did not. The baby monkeys spent almost all of their time clinging to the cloth mother. They only visited the wire mother briefly to drink, then rushed back. When frightened, they ran to the cloth mother for comfort, not the one with food. Harlow had just dismantled decades of parenting theory with a single experiment. What the monkeys were seeking was not just nutrition, it was warmth, softness, comfort. What scientists call contact comfort. This need for physical closeness and emotional security is not a luxury or a weakness. It is a biological necessity, wired into primates, including humans, from birth. This research transformed how we understand childhood development, attachment, and mental health. Orphanages around the world began changing their approaches because of Harlow. The need to feel held, safe, and connected is not something we grow out of. It follows us into adulthood and shapes every close relationship we have. The seventh one on the list is the learned helplessness experiment. In the 1960s, psychologist Martin Seligman exposed dogs to mild electric shocks they could not escape. Later, he placed those same dogs in a new environment where escape was actually possible. A healthy dog would jump over a barrier to avoid the shock. These dogs simply lay down and accepted it. They had learned to be helpless. Even when the situation changed and escape became easy, their brains had already concluded that nothing they did mattered. So they stopped trying. Seligman saw the same pattern in humans and connected it directly to depression. When people repeatedly fail or feel that their actions have no effect on their outcomes, they stop trying. Not because they are weak, but because their brain has built a deeply ingrained expectation of failure. This learned helplessness shows up in toxic work environments, abusive relationships, poverty cycles, and chronic illness. I also noticed this in myself when I kept failing at something early on and eventually just stopped attempting it at all. The moment I understood what was happening psychologically, everything shifted. Recognizing learned helplessness is one of the most powerful things you can do, because once you see the pattern, you can start to challenge it. The eighth one on the list is the Bobo doll experiment. In 1961, psychologist Albert Bandura had children watch an adult beat up a large inflatable clown called a Bobo doll, punching it, kicking it, hitting it with a mallet. Another group of children watched an adult who behaved calmly around the same doll. Then both groups were left alone with the Bobo doll. The results were exactly as striking as you might expect. Children who watched the aggressive adult imitated the behavior almost perfectly. Same punches, same kicks, same words. Children who watched the calm adult showed very little aggression. They learned behavior simply by observing it, with no direct instruction, no reward, and no punishment. Bandura called this observational learning, and it shattered the idea that children only learn through doing. We absorb behavior from the people around us constantly, especially from authority figures, parents, older siblings, and popular peers, who also experienced growing up around certain behaviors that you later had to consciously work to unlearn. The implications go far beyond childhood. Adults continue to learn through observation too, in workplaces, in relationships, through media. What you watch, who you surround yourself with, and what behavior you are repeatedly exposed to shapes you far more than most people realize. What is good, smart people? Professor Einstein here. If you learned something new from this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It is my goal to make you a little bit smarter with every video, and I believe this video right here can help you with that.